This story by an all-star. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter that I absolutely do not support her only wanting to be a stay-at-home mum? I don't have a problem with the idea of parents who stay home with their kids. It's not like that. I get that childcare is expensive, and that oftentimes it just makes sense. What I have a problem with is my teenage daughter literally planning her life to only become a stay-at-home mother. As in, no college, no jobs, no certifications, nothing at all to support herself until that time might come. I told her that it doesn't have to be college, that not everyone needs college, but that she needs to do something to start making money to put away so that, if anything goes wrong with her plan, she has a way to support herself and the potential kids. Her feedback was that her backup plan was me and my husband. She would move in with us and go from there. We would help them survive. I told her then, what happens if we die? Or if we're incapacitated? She said, I don't know, Mum. This is ridiculous. None of it's going to happen. I told her bluntly that I don't want her becoming a Nancy Botwin 2.0. That if something happens, she needs to have a backup plan and something behind her other than relying on other people. I emphasize that again. It does not need to be college. She can start working retail to learn customer service skills that she can carry on to doing call center work from home if need be. She can start working as a receptionist somewhere. She can do any number of things. But she says no. She's going to plan to be a stay-at-home mother. With that all in mind, I asked her, when she graduates high school, what is she going to do? She said, just try to find a husband, maybe marry someone in the military. I asked her again, in between that time, how is she going to pay her bills? Her rent? She said she assumed she would be living at home. I told her no, and that she would be moving out. She could live at home if she gets a job or tries to get some kind of community college degree or certification, but that if she insists on being a deadbeat loser and waiting for a man to come and rescue her, she's on her own. This didn't go over well, and I am now being held up as a totally unreasonable, mean, a huge feminine pup, etc. I don't think I'm wrong at all. I want to set her up for a lifetime of success and happiness. If this wonderful man who comes and whisks her away, knocks her up, etc., gets injured or dies, I don't want to have her come knocking at our door because she can't afford to take care of herself. Not the a-hole. Her expectations of life are unrealistic. You're doing your part as a parent and showing her that. Her entitlement is astounding. Correct. And aside from military, I can't imagine most 18-year-old men are going to be able to or willing to support her. Maybe sell her on the idea of college to get her MRS? Not only that, she seems to fail to realize that even many men who would be willing to have their wife be a stay-at-home mother don't necessarily want someone without ambition or education. Many of the quality men that would be good husbands and happy with a stay-at-home mother or wife want someone they can have an intelligent conversation with. Someone who can accompany them to social occasions and make them look good in front of their peers, colleagues, and boss. Someone who will be an actual partner and participate in the family planning and decisions with actual, educated input. At most, she sounds like she's just really, genuinely being lazy. I would not be surprised if her idea of being a mother is having a cute baby to hold and that it's just like an adorable plush toy to play with. Just purposely ignoring all the diaper changing and constant screaming and vomiting that they do. Not that I think you should just shove her face in front of a YouTube video that's a compilation of changing diapers, but I think she needs to be more aware of the pros and cons to having children. I agree, if you want to be a stay-at-home mother, all the power to you. You're allowed to do what you want. Provided your choices, well, with anything in life, are educated. Is she willing to be reliant on another person for money? Sure, her share in the income can be from keeping the house clean and doing dinner, things like that, but her husband basically then becomes her boss, and I don't know about you, but that's not really a healthy relationship dynamic. But regardless of her being allowed to aspire for a certain lifestyle in a relationship, you're not the a-hole for encouraging her to have independence. Heck, maybe she's just intimidated and you've just got to give her the ropes on living life on your own. This story by Fast Secretary. Am I the a-hole for screaming at my mother-in-law for invalidating my postpartum depression? I have a 16-year-old daughter who mother-in-law pretty much stole from me. She had a lot of money to hire the best lawyers, and my daughter was always adamant that she wanted mother-in-law to be her mum, not me. I was dragged through court, and mother-in-law ended up with full custody and eventually adopted her. My daughter gets angry when anyone refers to me as her mum, but she calls mother-in-law Nana, not mum. Mother-in-law would let me see her once a month, but she would sit there and judge me. Mother-in-law banished me for 6 months because we had a fight after I said I didn't like my daughter wearing a crop top at 7, and mother-in-law said, "You don't have a daughter." We had a huge fight, and even after she relented, I was hurt and went 2 years without seeing her. By choice on your part or theirs? Doesn't get explained. Anyway, my daughter is 16 now, and mother-in-law has brainwashed her, so she thinks I didn't want her, and that her grandmother saved her. I told my daughter that I think she needs to think of a career outside of dance, and my daughter got upset and said that I just shouldn't talk to her. I said, "As your mum," and mother-in-law interjected, "You aren't anyone's mum." I screamed at her that she knows I have postpartum depression and should be sensitive to mental illness. Father-in-law started laughing about how you can't have postpartum depression for 16 years, and then my daughter stormed off. And mother-in-law said I had to leave because I was upsetting my daughter. I screamed in her face that PPD is a disease just like cancer. Mother-in-law's mum died of cancer a few years ago, and would she shame someone for having cancer? Now she and my daughter are ignoring me. You're probably leaving a lot out here, so I'm going to assume, Yata, courts don't just take custody away from a mother and not only give custody to the grandparents, but also allow adoption just because they hired an expensive lawyer. You fricked up. Probably frequently and badly. Info! How old was the child when your mother-in-law got custody? Have you never gotten help for PPD? Who told you you have had PPD for 16 years? 4. Yes. I feel like I must still have it because I have so many negative thoughts towards my daughter. Okay, but why did your mother-in-law get custody? And no, she had better lawyers doesn't count. Were you abusive or neglectful? You have negative feelings towards her because you choose to and refuse to see the situation for what it is. You don't have control over the child because she is not legally your child and hasn't been for quite some time. I was neglectful and my daughter freaked out so much when we tried to pick her up from mother-in-law's. So mother-in-law had videos of her having panic attacks at 4 and clinging to mother-in-law screaming, so she alleged abuse. You're the a-hole, jeez. First off, this is not PPD. The postpartum period is about 3 months long. This is just regular depression, plus you being rude and nasty. You need to stop trying to parent the child you lost custody of 12 years ago for neglect. You might have a chance to develop a bond with her as an adult, but not a parent-child bond. You mentioned that you chose not to see your daughter for 2 years at one point because your feelings were hurt. That is not something a good parent does. The court does not take custody of a 4-year-old away from a parent without significant findings of neglect. Yata for how you've treated both your daughter and your mother-in-law, and for presenting the story as totally one-sided. Everyone pretty much brings up that same point, but someone did ask about where the father was in all this. He is the reason for a lot of this. Oh, yep, shift the blame. He told the judge we didn't want her, though I didn't agree to that. For some reason, she is okay with him. He told her that he just wants to be like her big brother, but he didn't want her full-time. Wow. What kind of mother are you, where your father, who openly admits not wanting the responsibility of the child, has a healthier, more consensual relationship with your daughter than you? That's gonna be an absolute punch in the guts. And definitely wouldn't help with this OP overcoming their depression. But I can't really see where she's innocent in this scenario. She's embarrassed herself in front of her child to the point where she's probably just going to be no contact for the rest of her life. But hey, you keep doubling down and making your daughter not feel comfortable around you. I'm sure she'll suddenly change her mind. What's that, Mr. Teapot? That I realized I shouldn't have bought as a green one because it doesn't work with the green screen well at all? They should like and subscribe? I think that's a very good idea, Mr. Teapot. Otherwise, he'll hurt me. Please like and subscribe. This story's a throwaway. Am I the a-hole for cooking Indian food as a non-Indian? I'm a 22-year-old white guy. Growing up, I had a best friend in school, Jay, who was from India. I frequently went over to his house and his mum served us amazing North Indian food. Not just the stuff you find in restaurants, but authentic food she prepared from spices she got from India. Jay and I are still friends, but we live in different states now. Over time, I've picked up some Indian recipes like butter chicken, biryani, etc. I tend to cook by myself, and if I have time, I make Indian food. Recently, a guy moved in with me. He's from college, and I know him well. His girlfriend also tends to hang out in our apartment. Yesterday, I was making biryani, this amazing dish with rice and spicy chicken, and the girlfriend asked me what I was making. I explained her about biryani and how it's one of those very popular Indian dishes. She was apparently, ticked off for some reason. She didn't say anything then, but later came up to me and told me that she wasn't comfortable that I was blatantly appropriating Indian culture. I told her that I have an Indian best friend, and he actually approves of my cooking, but no, she wasn't convinced. She said that she trusts her beliefs and that she won't engage with me any further. So, this is ridiculous. But am I the a-hole? I want to prove a point. Also, she's white too. This is a classic case of not knowing that cultural appreciation exists. You aren't modifying another culture or devaluing it. You are integrating others' cultures into your household and doing it respectfully. I'd calmly explain to her that her brand of activism is toxic. No, I don't know how to phrase it nicely. Yeah, to be fair, she's at least looking out in the right direction, but of course it is misdirected at the same time. Queenie Vicky brings up a good point in terms of where the line crosses. Does that count for hairstyles too? I really am confused with everything and want to make sure I'm not doing something bad. Can someone tell me, please? The problem with hairstyles is that black people are currently punished for wearing their natural hairstyles. They're called unprofessional, are often not allowed to wear them to work or school, get reprimanded, get called dirty, etc. So while eating and cooking the food of another culture for yourself is appreciation, not appropriation, hairstyles are trickier. As a white person, you can wear dreads and be called cool, but black people can't get jobs if they wear them, etc. It's that kind of thing. That's why hair is an issue, and if it was appropriation, even though you aren't profiting off it, etc. It definitely is a real thing, especially in some schools. News has travelled of it happening quite a few times where I live. And the defense is always, well, we apply this restriction to everyone, regardless of culture. Okay, but what you're basing your restrictions on is just pure whiteness, as in natural white person hair. It's not a sound argument, and honestly, just further restricts people being more exposed and welcoming of other cultures. No a-holes here. She clearly doesn't understand the line between appropriation and appreciation. A lot of us white people struggle with clarity in what that line is, and I think then we're new to social justice, we often overcompensate. You could explain to her that you agree. If you started a business selling Indian food, that would be appropriation. Or if you started telling Indian people how to make their own dishes, that would be a problem. But adding the food to your own diet, that's just appreciation. I'd just tell her that you appreciate she's concerned. At least she's thinking and trying, but that this is one place where it's cool. Yeah, again, good on her for pointing out any sort of racial issues when she sees it, but she also needs to accept when she's wrong. Doubling down on your accusations that are akin to racism doesn't make you the better person. Honestly, we should prefer that we've just misinterpreted something rather than it actually being the case. Do you think it's just food, though, that we can turn a blind eye to in regards to cultural appropriation? What about clothing, like kimonos in Japan and such? Should one be allowed to wear that if they love for what it is and appreciate the culture behind it? Or does it become appropriation because they risk bringing it into the norm with Western society and therefore ruining its cultural value? I ask mainly because I came across some TikTok videos with Asian cultural inspired clothing, and my god, do they look awesome. I wish I could wear them, but I feel like I'd be appropriating the culture, so I don't know. That does us for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking at my face right now, that means you liked this video. So all I appreciate is if you would like the video back. Because if you like it, then I'll like you for liking the video, and then I can make more stuff for you to like that you can like, and it'll be just a constant cycle of never-ending pain and suffering. So don't do it alone, suffer with me. I don't know where I was going with that. If you haven't subscribed but you want to see some more content, then please, what are you waiting for? Click that notification bell so you're always updated on the latest content. And hey, why not check out some other videos while you're here? But anyway, that does me for today. Thank you again for watching. You're an amazing person. I love rambling at you, and I look forward to you staring at me beyond the abyss again soon. I can't close well. Don't at me, okay? My name's been Jack. Bye-bye. You're amazing. See ya.